Starting with Thailand today, after waiting for days amid heavy monsoon showers, the country is finally holding the cremation ceremony for late Thai King Bhumibol Adulyadej. Mourners have lined up around the funeral site of the late Thai King. The 5-day funeral process began on Wednesday with the merit-making ceremony inside the Grand Palace, where the monarch's body has laid since his death a year ago. The mourners, clad in black, moved slowly as they went through security checks surrounding Bangkok's Royal Field.
His Majesty the King, accompanied by Her Royal Highness. The northern corner staircase. Soldiers of the units of the King's Royal
And
Guards.
As you're watching, these are live visuals coming in from Bangkok, where the funeral ceremony for the late Thai King is finally taking place.
This is a small palanquin to be carried by 8 bearers. It is used to carry the royal urn from the Dusit Mahaprasad Hall to the Goi platform, or the royal mounting platform, to access the Prayanamad Sam Lamkhan, or the royal palanquin with 3 poles, outside the western wall of the Grand Palace. The soldier is paying respect to the royal remains of His Majesty the late King Rama IX. Wan Pha minor palanquin is a carved wooden platform gilded and decorated with mirror fragments. The base is a Than Sing Pak Bua motif. The base is gilded and decorated with mirror fragments in the Prajam Yam floral motif. The Sing or lion base is carved and gilded and decorated with mirror fragments, as is the cornice. The floor of the palanquin is covered with red carpeting, with a metal ring painted red in each corner. The 2 poles are also painted red, with tips in Homet Songman design covered with gold leaf. Between the poles, both front and back, are ropes covered with red cloth for the bearers to put behind their necks and shoulders while carrying the palanquin. Officials are now making sure that the royal urn, the inner urn, is securely placed.
I came from Tasmania, Hobart, but I lived there for more than 10 years. Okay, but I'm sure when I know my king is passed away, my heart is real broken. And today, that's why funeral, I have to waiting for 1 year, and I'm so glad to be here.
ผมเกิดมาในรัชสมัยของสมเด็จพระเจ้าอยู่หัวรัชกาลที่ 9 ใน1 รอบชีวิตผมเป็นงานที่สำคัญมากครับสำหรับชีวิตผมที่ผมต้องยอมถึงแม้จะต้องตากแดดตากฝนมา2 วัน 3 คืนผมก็ยังต้องยอมครับ
The funeral ceremony will reach its climax later today with the golden chariots carrying the royal urn, which will be carried to the ornate crematorium specially built by artisans over the last year. Around 250,000 people have lined up the area around the crematorium complex to watch the late king's body being laid to final rest.
To the great victory chariot of Pramahapichai Racharot in front of Prachedupon Temple, also known as Wat Po. The procession is formed in front of Tewa Pirom Gate of the Grand Palace. A royal palanquin is a wheelless vehicle designed to be carried by human bearers. It was used when the king traveled to a ceremony or on an informal occasion. The king might also confer a palanquin as a token to members of the royal family, noblemen and high-ranking monks. A royal chariot or rajarot, on the other hand, was the vehicle of the king who held divine status in the past. The chariot was designed as a symbol that was unique and godlike to demonstrate his position. Historical evidence shows that royal chariots have been used in royal cremation ceremonies from the Ayutthaya to Bangkok periods. Prior to the ceremony today, royal chariots and palanquins relating to royal cremation ceremonies were kept in the Royal Chariot Building at the Bangkok National Museum. Officials responsible for royal items of high nobility have used ropes to secure the inner urn onto the Wan Pha minor palanquin. Soldiers are now carrying the Wan Pha minor palanquin to the area near the territorial wall gate. At the territorial wall gate, the outer royal urn of Prakot Thong Yai will be brought there to be assembled, covering the inner urn once again, before being slid onto the royal palanquin with 3 poles for the further transporting. The outer royal urn and the inner royal urn are collectively called the royal urn. As we have seen earlier at Dusit Mahaprasad Throne Hall, the royal urn is placed upon the Suwan Benjadon royal platforms.
Coming out of that latest funeral ceremony in Thailand, we now move to Catalonia, where the Catalan parliament is preparing for a crucial debate today on Article 155 and the prospect of independence from Spain. Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy's government has threatened to implement measures to take direct control of the region on Friday if Catalan leader Carles Puigdemont does not back down from his demands for independence. Puigdemont was expected to go to Madrid today to explain his position on independence from Spain, but no visit has been officially scheduled to the Spanish capital. Analysts indicate he could formally declare independence or call a snap election today or on Friday before the Senate strips him of his powers and imposes direct rule from Madrid. The Spanish government has declared the referendum illegal and declined Puigdemont's calls for dialogue, instead opting to take control of the Catalan region. Meanwhile, hundreds of demonstrators gathered outside the headquarters of the government of Catalonia on Wednesday to show support for the possibility of Puigdemont declaring independence and protested against the imposition of Article 155 by Madrid. The protest, organized by education activists, rallied against interference from the Spanish government in the Catalan education system. Activists said the application of Article 155 was an embarrassment and would politicize education. Moving on to Kenya, which is set to hold a controversial repeat presidential election today as planned. Amid reports of unrest, Uhuru Kenyatta has urged Kenyans to vote and remain peaceful.
This evening I speak to you not as President of this great republic. I say that after you vote, and I have said this before, please go home. Go back to your neighbor. Remember that in spite of their origin, your neighbor is your brother. Your neighbor is your sister. How you have voted, or for that matter, not voted, should not change the manner in which you relate to everyone else in our Kenyan family. Let us all maintain peace as we exercise our constitutional right to choose.
Meanwhile, opposition candidate Raila Odinga has called on his supporters to join him in boycotting the election, saying he would lead a campaign of civil disobedience. He is refusing to participate in the contest because he says the Election Commission has failed to implement reforms to prevent it from being marred by irregularities.
Convince your friends, neighbors and everyone else not to participate. Instead, we advise Kenyans who value democracy and justice to hold vigilant prayers away from polling stations or just stay at home. We are aware that the bloodthirsty regime is planning to use every excuse to massacre our people. Let us deny them that chance.
Odinga spoke shortly after the Supreme Court said it was unable to consider a last-minute appeal to delay the vote after 5 out of 7 judges failed to turn up. The Supreme Court ordered the repeat election after annulling an August 8th presidential election, which Odinga had lost. With the Supreme Court unable to hear petitions to delay the vote, election officials said it would go ahead regardless of Odinga's decision. Supporters of Odinga welcomed his call to boycott today's repeat election. Odinga's supporters marched through the streets of Kisumu after Kenya's Supreme Court's decision. Riot police used tear gas to disperse them in the opposition stronghold. In a slum in Nairobi, protesters set fire to tires as Odinga was addressing a rally in Uhuru Park, where he called for people to boycott the vote. Odinga, however, has backed away from previous promises to hold large-scale protests on election day.
Baba is fighting for us. He is fighting for our rights, for our grandfather that didn't get. So we want to get it now. So I don't think it's really fair for us to be denied our rights. That's why we cannot vote tomorrow. And as Baba just said, we need to be home, calm, and wait for the best.
Meanwhile, the United States has urged all Kenyans to remain calm, reject violence, and uphold the principles of their constitution in the election. Spokesperson Heather Nauert, in a press statement, said, and I quote, "We are deeply concerned about the continuing efforts of both parties to interfere with and undermine the independent operation of the Electoral Commission, the judiciary, and other essential institutions." She further said, "Now is not the time for strife to divide Kenya. It is a time for all Kenyans to come together," unquote. Moving on, as the war of words between North Korea and the United States shows no signs of slowing down, Pyongyang has come up with another warning. Now, North Korea has warned that their threat of staging an atmospheric nuclear test above the Pacific Ocean should be taken, quote-unquote, literally. A senior North Korean official made the comments in an interview with CNN on Wednesday. Ri Yong-pil, a senior diplomat in North Korea's foreign ministry, said, and I quote, "The foreign minister is very well aware of the intentions of our supreme leader. So I think you should take his words literally, unquote. Earlier this month, North Korea's Foreign Affairs Minister Ri Yong-ho had said that Pyongyang may consider conducting the most powerful detonation of a hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean amid rising tensions with the U.S. The latest threat comes as the U.S. sent more weapons, including F-35 fighter jets, to the Western Pacific as the North Korea nuclear crisis escalated. Reports suggest that in just a few weeks, the U.S. will move 12 F-35A Lightning fighter jets to Japan for the first time, along with 300 airmen for 6 months. And now on to Pakistan, where the Foreign Minister Khwaja Asif has sparked a fresh controversy. Speaking in the parliament, Asif tried to defend the most wanted terrorist Hafiz Saeed, who carries a $10 million bounty on his head for terror activities. Asif said on Wednesday that Hafiz Saeed's name was not on the list of 75 militants the U.S. had handed over to Pakistan. He added that the U.S. had been told that Pakistan no longer has influence over the Afghan Taliban as it did in the past. Asif asserted that many of the key Taliban names were now shadow governors in Afghanistan or no longer alive. This statement came during a reply to the parliament on the visit of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson. Meanwhile, Pakistan's foreign minister also asserted that Islamabad will cooperate with Washington in the war on terror, but without compromising its own sovereignty. While briefing the Senate on Wednesday regarding the talks held between Pakistani and American delegations a day earlier, Asif said the U.S. has been informed that Pakistan does not want any military hardware or economic resources as material gain from Washington. He added that if the U.S. provides actionable intelligence, Pakistan will act on it. And staying with Pakistan, a Pakistani High Court has accepted a petition aimed at preventing ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif from heading his Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party again. Sharif was re-elected as the party chief earlier this month after he stepped down as the president of the PMLN party following the Panama Papers scandal. Islamabad High Court admitted the petition and issued notice to Sharif and others. The petitioner said that permitting a disqualified person to head a political party was against the spirit of the Constitution. A Pakistani blogger has alleged torture after being abducted for questioning about having links with Indian Intelligence Agency Research and Analytics Wing, according to a report. The blogger, Asim Saeed, went missing for several weeks earlier this year before being released by unknown abductors. Saeed said he was bundled into a car by men in plain clothes when he returned to Pakistan to attend his brother's wedding. The blogger was one of the 5 social media activists who were abducted in Pakistan in January 2017. According to reports, Pakistan intelligence agencies have denied any involvement in Asim's abduction and torture of Saeed. He was asked to hand over his email and mobile phone passwords before being led away to a secret facility. Asim has applied for asylum in the United Kingdom after he complained of torture by quote-unquote state intelligence agencies. And well, 5 global airlines are going to begin new security screening procedures of all passengers traveling to the United States. Long-haul carriers Air France, Cathay Pacific, Egypt Air Emirates and Lufthansa will start the screenings beginning today. A 6th carrier, Royal Jordanian, said it would begin the new procedures in mid-January next year after U.S. authorities granted a delay in implementing the measures. The airlines offered different descriptions of how the interviews would take place. The new security measures come after the Trump administration previously rolled out a laptop ban and travel bans that have thrown the international travel industry into a chaos. The new rules come at the end of a 120-day deadline for airlines to meet the new U.S. regulations. Meanwhile, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People has warned African American travelers to be careful when they fly with American Airlines. In an advisory, the organization said it has noticed a pattern of disturbing incidents reported by Black American passengers, specific to U.S.-bound airlines. The NAACP cited 4 examples of Black passengers who were forced to give up their seats or were removed from flights. It said the incident suggests a corporate culture of racial insensitivity and possible racial bias and advised the travelers to exercise caution. The advisory also stated that booking and boarding flights on American Airlines could subject them to disrespectful, discriminatory, or unsafe conditions. And as we move on, a little over 7 months to go into the 2018 World Cup in Russia, ISIS has issued a warning to the event. The terror group has released an image of Lionel Messi crying blood on social media. The chilling poster of Messi is being used in a campaign of terror by ISIS supporters to threaten next year's FIFA World Cup. The image was published by a known Islamic State mouthpiece in an attempt to spread fear among fans and players who are attending the mega event. The poster shows Messi behind bars with an ISIS message. The poster also used Nike's famous tagline, "Just Do It," and turned it into "Just Terrorism." There have been other instances of various pro-ISIS organizations publishing different posters depicting danger at the World Cup. The 2018 World Cup will kick off in June next year. And now we move on to India, where the Gujarat anti-terrorism squad arrested 2 suspected ISIS terrorists from Surat on Wednesday. The ATS said that both the terrorists were working for the Islamic State and were planning to execute a terror plot in Ahmedabad during the Gujarat elections. The terrorists are identified as Qasim and Obaid, who are residents of Surat. Reports suggest that Qasim was planning to abscond to Jamaica after executing the blast. Assembly elections in Gujarat will be held in 2 phases on December 9th and 14th. The votes will be counted on December 18th. Fighter jets of Russia and India are in perfect unison. This as the 2 countries for the first time tested defense and strategic ties. The 10th edition of Indra exercise is underway in Russia. From joint planning and tabletop exercises to refueling each other's warships, Indian and Russian forces are exchanging best practices in Vladivostok. In its previous 9 avatars, the exercise has been conducted as a single service drill, alternatively between the 2 countries. The year 2017 marks a major milestone as this exercise has been upgraded to involve all the 3 services of the armed forces, the Army, Navy and the Air Force. The Indian contingent comprises of 350 personnel from the Army, 80 from the Air Force, 2 IL-76 aircrafts and 1 frigate and corvette from each from the Navy.